There are certain sayings that stay with you for life, tiny echoes of a world that once moved a little slower and felt a little kinder. If you were a child in Britain during the 1960s, you'll remember how adults spoke with a calm certainty, using phrases that sounded warm, homely, and sometimes a little odd. Today, everything feels sharper and faster, short messages, quick replies, slang that changes every few weeks. But back then, a simple saying could hold a whole world of meaning. These phrases shaped how families talked, how neighbors joked, and how communities understood one another. They were part of a shared language that made daily life feel familiar and safe. And while many of them have faded from modern speech, the feelings they carried never truly disappeared. So let's take a gentle walk back and revisit 12 British sayings every 60s kid will never forget. Number 1. Keep your pecker up. It was one of those lines every adult seemed to use whenever life felt a bit heavy. Keep your pecker up didn't mean what kids today might think. It simply meant stay cheerful. In the 60s, when money was tight and days were simple, this phrase was a small lift for anyone feeling low. You heard it from teachers before a tough exam, or from mom as you trudged out into the cold for school. It mattered because it carried encouragement without fuss or drama. The visual memory is always the same: someone giving a light smile, a soft pat on the arm, and those familiar words. Its origins go back to pecker, meaning one's spirit or courage. It faded as language modernized and humor changed. But for many, it still feels like a warm hand on the shoulder. Number 2. Bob's your uncle. This was the magical ending to any explanation. The final flourish adults used when something was suddenly solved. Just pull the cord, twist the knob, and Bob's your uncle. For a 60s kid, it was both funny and oddly reassuring. It mattered because it brought certainty to small moments, making a cup of tea, fixing a toy, setting up the telly. You pictured someone saying it with a grin, as if revealing a secret passcode to the universe. Its origins go back to Victorian politics, but children rarely knew that. It simply sounded like the friendliest conclusion imaginable. Over time, it faded as phrases became shorter and more modern, replaced by "there you go" or "done." But those 3 words still remind people of a time when life felt wonderfully straightforward. Number 3. Spend a penny. Every child of the 60s heard this gentle, polite way of saying they needed the loo. "I'm just off to spend a penny," floated through shops, cafes, bus stops, and family outings. It mattered because it softened something ordinary, turning a basic need into a shared cultural wink. You experienced it while standing in crowded department stores, hearing mom whisper it before disappearing behind a wooden door with frosted glass. The phrase came from the old penny-operated public toilets. A small coin slipped into a metal slot. As those facilities faded and modern bathrooms became free, the saying naturally drifted away. But for anyone who grew up with it, it still carries the memory of clean-tiled cubicles, polished brass locks, and the quiet dignity of older Britain. Number 4. It's brass monkeys out there. This was the phrase that every father seemed to declare the moment winter winds arrived. "It's brass monkeys out there" sounded both funny and alarming to a child who imagined frozen toy monkeys scattered across the pavement. It mattered because it added humor to the cold, making icy mornings feel like a shared adventure rather than a burden. You experienced it while pulling on mittens, watching frost cling to the windows, or stepping onto a chilled school playground. The phrase came from naval slang about brass fittings shrinking in the cold, though few people knew the full story. Over time, modern expressions replaced it, and younger generations rarely heard it spoken aloud. But the memory remains: a warm laugh on a freezing morning, a reminder of how families once wrapped humor around hardship. Number 5. Don't get your knickers in a twist. This was the gentle warning adults used whenever someone was making too much fuss. For a 60s kid, it usually came with a raised eyebrow and a calm voice. It mattered because it helped take the sting out of frustration. You remember it during small arguments with siblings or when plans changed unexpectedly. The visual memory is of mom wiping her hands on a tea towel, shaking her head with a tiny smile. The phrase has roots in British humor, turning irritation into something almost silly. It faded slowly as modern families became more direct with their words. Yet it still carries a soft reminder: take a breath, relax, and don't let the small things tangle you up. Number 6. Pull your socks up. Every 60s kid heard this at least once a week. Pull your socks up meant it was time to try harder, behave better, or simply get moving. It mattered because it summed up an entire approach to growing up. No fuss, no drama, just quietly doing your best. You experienced it before school exams, during homework, or when chores needed doing. The visual memory is vivid, sitting on the edge of the bed, tugging at your real socks while trying to absorb the deeper message. Its origins lie in military discipline, where dressed soldiers were expected to look sharp. Over time, it faded a little as parenting styles softened and language shifted. But those words still bring back the steady, no-nonsense encouragement of an older generation. Number 7. You're a right little monkey. This affectionate scolding echoed through British homes whenever a child caused harmless trouble. You're a right little monkey was never cruel. It was playful, filled with warmth even in moments of mischief. It mattered because it allowed kids to feel seen without feeling scolded. You heard it after sneaking biscuits, climbing furniture, or coming home with muddy shoes. The visual image is always the same: an adult shaking their head but unable to hide a smile. The phrase came from British humor, comparing energetic children to cheeky monkeys. As times changed, parents became more careful with phrases involving animals or stereotypes, and the saying slowly faded from daily speech. But for many, it still brings back the sound of laughter and the joy of harmless childhood. Chaos. Number 8. Don't be daft. This was the lightest way to correct someone without hurting their feelings. Don't be daft softened any disagreement, turning it into something almost affectionate. It mattered because it kept family debates gentle and friendly. You remember hearing it from grandparents when you suggested something silly or overly bold. The visual memory is of someone looking up from a newspaper or knitting, smiling as they said it. The phrase reflects classic British understatement, keeping emotions calm and steady. Over time, stronger and shorter expressions took over, and daft slowly drifted out of everyday conversation. Yet it still carries the warmth of a kinder correction, the sort you only get from someone who truly cares. Number 9. You're in for a ticking off. This phrase sent a tiny shiver through any 60s child, but it was never as harsh as it sounded. You're in for a ticking off meant a mild telling off was coming, firm but fair. It mattered because it taught boundaries without fear. You experienced it when you stayed out too late, ignored chores, or tracked mud into the house. The image is clear: an adult standing with crossed arms, but their tone soft enough to show you were still loved. The phrase originated from the idea of ticking marks on a list, meaning you had crossed a line. As parenting changed and language became more direct, this gentle warning slowly disappeared. But hearing it today still brings back the balanced discipline of a generation that believed in correction without cruelty. Number 10. Pack it in. This simple command could stop any childish squabble instantly. Pack it in meant stop immediately, no questions asked. It mattered because it was short, clear, and carried authority without shouting. You experienced it in living rooms, school corridors, and back gardens when play became a little too loud or chaotic. The visual memory is an adult glancing over, raising one eyebrow, and uttering the phrase in a calm but firm tone. Its origins lie in everyday British speech, meaning to put something away or bring something to an end. It faded as newer phrases like "knock it off" or "stop it now" replaced it. But for 60s kids, those 3 words still echo with childhood order and familiar boundaries. Number 11. Pop round later. This phrase shaped the rhythm of community life in the 60s. Pop round later meant visits without planning, neighbors dropping in for tea, and family staying connected. It mattered because it made friendship feel effortless. You experienced it while running errands, hearing adults invite one another with a warm nod and no need for schedules. The visual memory is of terraced houses, open doors, and the clink of teacups on saucers. Its origins lie in the idea of popping by quickly and casually. As life grew busier and technology replaced doorstep conversations, the phrase slowly disappeared. But it still carries the feeling of a Britain where people had time for one another. Number 12, Cheerio. This cheerful farewell marked the end of countless conversations. Cheerio felt bright, upbeat, and distinctly British. It mattered because it made parting feel pleasant, even warm. You experienced it at bus stops, school gates, and corner shops, often paired with a friendly wave. The visual memory is of someone walking away with a smile, their voice echoing across a quiet street. The phrase's origins are uncertain, possibly stemming from cheery. But as modern goodbyes turned shorter and more casual, Cheerio became rare. Still, for those who grew up with it, the word carries the sound of a kinder, gentler Britain, one where even goodbyes felt hopeful. These sayings weren't just words. They were part of a shared language that shaped childhood, kindness, discipline, and humor. They helped families communicate with warmth, softened the edges of daily life, and connected neighbors in ways that feel distant today. Each phrase held a small piece of identity, something uniquely British, shaped by the rhythms of the 60s and the quiet strength of its people. As we look back now, these memories matter because they remind us of belonging, of growing up in a world where language carried comfort and community. And even though many of these sayings have gently faded away, their echoes still live inside anyone who grew up hearing them. They remain fragile, precious reminders of a Britain that once felt smaller, softer, and wonderfully familiar.